You're tuned in to Shake, Rattle, and Goal, the official podcast of your Springfield Thunderbirds.
Becca's there on the backhand, scoring the save, rebound in the crease, they score!
Hosted by Matt Baker and Steve Forney. A show that's everything Springfield hockey, with interviews including players, coaches, and staff.
The Springfield Indians repeat as the Calder Cup champions.
Listen to this podcast on all major streaming platforms and wherever you download podcasts.
In his first year at the helm, Kevin McDonald and Drew Bannister have the Teamers in the Calder Cup Finals.
Watch the podcast on the official Shake, Rattle, and Goal YouTube page at SRG Podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Matt Baker and Steve Forney. And this episode number 20 of season 2 of the Shake, Rattle, and Goal podcast is proudly brought to you by our friends at White Lion Brewing in Amherst and in downtown Springfield, by our friends at Brewcade on Walnut Street in Agawam, and by our friends at Landscaping That Fits. Alongside Matt Baker, I am Steve Forney, and as this is a vacation week, we got some great interviews lined up for you, starting with the one and only Jillian Gray. Jillian is, I'm sure you've seen her on the ice, riding the fan bony, always with her camera in hand. Jillian, how are you, my friends? Good to see you.
I'm doing so well. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you so much for the time. So, Jillian, just tell us a little bit about yourself and how, where you're from, social security number, bank routing information, that kind of stuff. But no, like how you sort of landed with the Thunderbirds and what you do there.
Well, I grew up in West Springfield my entire life. So I grew up going to Falcons games. And as the years went on, the Thunderbirds games were almost like a reward. Like if I got to go to one, it was a good night. And then ironically, I was like, I think I was on Facebook scrolling through and I got an ad for the job fair that they were having through Teamwork Online. And the best part was you got to go to the game afterwards. And it was, I think, late February that it went on. So I went in and I only went to the Thunderbirds table. I said, if I'm doing anything, I'm working with these guys. And they ended up saying it is way too late in the season. We don't have any spots open for anything, but keep an eye out for next year. I said, absolutely. I gave my resume to Lawless, actually, one of the ticket reps. Mm-hmm. And I went to a game later that week. And about a week or so later, I think I got an email from him. And he said, hey, a bunch of these kids are on spring break. So we're down a few interns if you want to join for the rest of the season as a game day intern. And I was beyond excited. I talked to Lawless once I first started, and he actually said, I really liked the paper that your resume was on. So that's why we decided to email you and reach out, because I remembered your resume paper. It was like best detail ever.
It's the small things. It's the small things.
Yep. So I had a handful of games as a game day intern my first season. Mm-hmm. And then coming back, I worked during the summer doing a few caravans as well. And I remember I got another email about all of the jobs coming out, and I saw photography. And it's been a hobby of mine for quite some time now. I liked doing sports photography, and also I knew I'd be able to watch the game a little bit more than a game day intern would. So I applied for that. Wasn't expecting anything. I was like, it might have been might have been lucky enough to get half a season, and I'd take it. And I ended up getting called in, Lucas Armstrong, and he's like, do you know what you're doing? I said, not at all, but I've got spirit, so I think that counts. And he described the role to me, brand new role. It was game day experience. He's like, I normally do this, but there's a lot of stuff now going on. Mm-hmm. He said, you're not going to be able to take a bunch of game day photos, like of the game itself, but you'll be here every game. I said, that's more than enough for me. He goes, please tell me you're good with people. I said, sometimes. I like to think I am. But ever since then, I absolutely fell in love with the role, and I have been beyond lucky to be able to continue it for another season.
That's awesome. Cool. So this is year what? Year 2 for you? Year 3?
Technically year 3, year 2 as a photographer.
That's awesome.
Cool. Jillian, thanks for coming on. Give us a little insight. What, as a game day intern, responsibilities compared to photography responsibilities? Quick compare, contrast, and I'm going to assume you like photography a little bit better. So just take us through kind of what you were doing on a game day intern versus now as team photographer.
Game day intern, I was put on 50-50 table my entire run.
Oof.
They said, you're killing it here. You interact great, so we're going to keep you at it. And I went, I can't see a TV that well. That's my only downside. I worked in retail, so I was like, I can do the face-to-face, but I can't see what's happening. So that's one of my favorite parts. I'm always running around as a photographer. I get to be so involved. I still get the fan experience like I got as a game day intern, but I get so much more of an experience with it. I think a game day intern is still a fantastic position. It's a great intro to sports. And for a lot of the people now, they switch up positions almost every game. And it's a great experience, I think, especially for a college kid. But for me, photography was a passion of mine. I like to see how people react to the camera, even if I'm trying to kind of take some photos behind the scenes and not be seen. But I get to capture real-time emotion, real-time experience, and I get a huge surrounding of what the game's like on the ice, off the ice, in the arena, and all of it. For me, it's a lot more heartfelt for me.
That's great.
That's awesome. We're talking with Jillian Gray, photographer for your Springfield Thunderbirds. It's funny you mentioned that because I feel like this organization in particular, it's like Frank started out as just a ticket rep and he moved up. And, Lorenzo, I see this with Lorenzo now, who's just an intern, and now he just keeps climbing that ladder. And it's amazing their ability to promote from within. And you talked about the importance of getting your foot in the door. And this is such a good organization to get your foot in the door. And then we see, like China, who's now doing photography for the Boston Bruins, and you have the opportunity to stay and be awesome, or you have the opportunity to advance and be awesome. So for you, I mean, kind of like me, local kid, went to the Falcons Indians games. It's like the arena I grew up in. Is that sort of, I don't want to say your main goal, but what is your main goal here? As you move forward, being much younger than Matt and I.
For me, the biggest thing was being local. The Thunderbirds is such an iconic experience because it feels like Springfield's a city, but it still feels so small compared to Boston or even Worcester. So to have a professional hockey team here, it feels like such an incredible opportunity to be able to work for them. For me, it was just the fact I got to say that I worked for the team. I had so much fun experiencing as a child, and I get to help those experiences continue. For me, I'm not looking necessarily for promotion or moving to a higher level. I'm so happy with where I'm at right now with them. Whatever comes for the future, I'm happy to take hold of it. But if it's sticking with the Thunderbirds, if it's sticking in the position I'm in right now, I'd be more than grateful for that too.
Great outlook. Awesome. Great outlook. That's
I've been to the NHL. It's not that great.
I mean, Steve, you've talked about it. It's more personable. It's more meaningful at this level. And I am just a podcaster, so
it's like I feel like the Thunderbirds appreciate the work that we put in, and when you get to, again, I don't mind bringing it up because again, I just was so aggravated with the way the Bruins treated me. They're appreciative of your skill set, what you offer. They take care of your family. They take care of your friends. They take care of you, right? So oh
my God, yeah.
I don't know. That doesn't, maybe other organizations are different, but in my experience in the NHL, that all goes away when you get there. And that's why I'm happy as can be in what I'm doing,
So Jillian, so you're more specifically game night, game day. Are you more behind the scenes, like hometown heroes and trying to capture a fan, or are you the action shots on the ice?
So I like to describe it as it's almost split off into three. There's three broad points of it. There is the home team photography, which is Lucas. There is the away team photography, which is the other intern, Jaden. And then there's more of the fan experience / almost like corporate side of things.
Mhm.
So right now, a lot of the actual game shots that I'm getting are of our dashers, our advertisements on the arena, like right above the ice. The company does a fantastic job at supporting their sponsors. At the end of the year, they make this incredible book, fantastic team behind it. And so the sponsors at the end of the year get this book, and it shows not only were you with us for the season, but look at how you were with us. Here's photos of you. Our players are in it. Our fans are in it. Whether it's the ads, our T-shirts, we have the score 4, all of that kind of thing, and it's what elevates the experience so much. So I get some of the corporate side where it's the great things for our awesome sponsors, and I also get the fan experience. So it is the military salute. It's all of our giveaways. It's our shout outs. Sometimes it's just our fans cheering because they're so happy to be there. Sometimes I have fans that just simply go, "Can I get a picture?" And I'm more than happy to do that for them.
Yeah.
So overall, I like my side of it. I love getting the game photos. It's a little bit scarier, I guess. I feel like, especially when if Lucas is like, "Can you cover me? Can you get this for me?" I feel like I'm trying to meet like his level, and I don't think I'm there yet. He's absolutely astonishing with his photos. But with my side of things, it's kind of like, here's my version of it, and they're like, "This is great. We love it." So
That's awesome. That's awesome. We're talking to Jillian Gray, photographer for your Springfield Thunderbirds. And Jillian, one of the things I have to teach in high school is photography. And I'll have a student who I'll be like, "All right, there's a team basketball game going on," and I'll take photos, and they go and they come back and they're like, "Yeah, I took like 9-10 photos." I'm like, 9 or 10 photos? Like, you're supposed to take like 300, like 9?
right.
How many, for the sake of my students, on a nightly basis, how many photos do you take over the course of a game?
Ooh.
Roundabout figure, because I know it's
Okay.
a lot.
On a regular game night, I would say it's closer to 350, and on a specialty night, you can almost double that.
Wow. That's crazy. But that's what it's, and even if you're doing videography, right? It's like you want, if you need to make a 3-minute video, take 45 minutes worth of content.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like I shot 5 minutes worth. That's not good enough. No, take
If you
need an hour's
everything.
worth of footage. Yeah, right. Like you got to really capture everything. So
Yep.
So how important is that to you to make sure that thing is always ready to go? You always got that camera around your neck ready to go.
For me, especially, it's important because I am always walking around. It's always a spur of the moment. You might see something you want to grab a photo of. You might have fans that want a photo of them. You might have, like, if I'm not paying attention and a goal's scored, I'm sprinting out and making sure my camera's on and I'm getting those fans cheering. It's the little things where I would rather sort through all of those photos and know that I got everything that I was looking for than have a minimal amount and be praying that I have something good to have.
This is great, Jillian, because this is insight. I think this is wonderful that things, I've talked to Steve about this and other guests. As a hockey fan, you go see a hockey game. You don't realize all this stuff going on behind the scenes and all the hard work and time dedicated to making our experience fantastic, which brings us back to the Thunderdome time and time again. So now I have to ask, you're sorting through 300, 400 pictures. Is that all you, or do you have like a little intern team that helps you sort through it? And what are you like? Are you picking your, I remember this moment when Nikki scored goal number 2. The crowd was bonkers. I've got to find are you looking for moments, or are you just sorting through pictures and picking whatever they are?
So there are almost little breaks in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And for all of us, it's different depending on what our schedule is. So, for example, all of the pregame stuff happens. Fans are outside. There might be a giveaway, warm-ups, all of that. Puck drops. I run back to the media office. I sort through all of those photos that I have for then. I put them into our programming or our editing software that we use, edit them, and I get them going. And then I run back out, and it keeps going throughout the game.
Wow.
What do you use for editing software? Is it Adobe Photoshop?
Yes,
or
it is. We
Photoshop?
use Bridge and Lightroom.
Oh, nice. There you go. Awesome. That's what I teach. So I'm glad we're teaching industry stuff. That's all.
There we go.
We're talking with Jillian Gray. You'd recognize her if you go to a Thunderbirds game. She's the one with the camera always smiling. I want to ask about, did you ever play hockey?
No.
Okay, me neither. I can't skate. I'm amazed at your ability. And Matt, keep your eye out for this next game you go to. So
Yeah.
Jillian will ride the Famboni at the beginning on a fresh sheet of ice. And then as it's moving, she brings herself down and gets off the thing as it's moving on a fresh sheet of ice in boots. And every time she does it, I'm like, nailed it. How like is that just like, I don't know, like how did you learn how to do that and not eat it?
So here's my cheat code. I realized this very early into my first season, actually. The interns would play little games, or the ice crew would, play around if there wasn't a prelim or if they had time before the Zambonis came out, and they'd be like, come on the ice. I said, not a chance. There's too many of you around. I will slip and fall. I'm not risking that. When I first met Lucas, he brought me onto the ice to just say, you're going to have to walk on this. I think I was in sneakers. I took one step out and I said, I've got to work on that. I had boots that I actually wore during high school, and they were heels and they had tread in them. And I said, that's what we're going to try. And they worked. And then I bought my current ones, and they worked even better. So my secret is that they do have tread in them. So it's a lot easier. And on a fresh sheet of ice, it actually gets sticky. The more you walk on it, it can get sticky. However, if it's skated on, fresh ice skated on, but not enough in between,
right,
it will get into the treads.
Ooh.
And it's the most slippery thing I've ever experienced.
Right.
Which happened on opening night this season.
Ooh.
And as our video coach, Jeff Jordan, so kindly said, I looked like Bambi. Ice crew skated in front of me because we were having an issue with our GoPro we were going to use. So they were asking if I had an extra SD card. I said, go talk to Lucas. They skated by. I took a step forward so I wasn't in the way. And now I'm standing, and I have all of our injured players and all of our coaches on the bench next to me. And all the guys are lined up. There's a spotlight pointed right at them. And I went, I've got to go all the way down there. And I can't walk. So I had to awkwardly shuffle, sliding around. Jeff goes, I was trying so hard not to laugh on the bench. I said, I didn't fall. I don't know how, but that was the worst experience in front of a sold-out crowd.
Hey, if it makes you, I didn't notice. Yeah. If it makes you feel any better, I was there and I did not notice.
Yeah. That is a win for me.
Yeah.
Jillian, do you have? So I know you deal mostly game day, game night on the fan side of it, but interactions with players. Do you have a favorite player to take pictures of? Are there some players who are more goofy in front of the camera? Tell us some stuff about some players here.
So I would say probably our most interactive players are going to be Pekka, Sam Bitten, Skinner, and probably Zarenko.
It's a good list.
Yeah.
They are. Hunter Skinner's the funniest. And you put a camera or not in front of him. If you are ever lucky enough to be close by during warm-ups, you will hear him scream as he skates past you. Funniest thing, because you know it's him. But otherwise, Matt Pekka was actually the first one to really interact with me, even down to my first game. as a game day intern. I went down there. He said, "Hey, how are you?" He gave me a fist bump, and I was like, this is the most intimidating thing because I already feel short, and these guys are in skates. I was like, I'm going to take a step back and just not say a word. But they've all been great. Community Caravan, Matt Pekka, for a few years now, he's gone to those, and he's always so interactive. He's great with the camera. He loves taking photos. He loves being in photos. He loves taking photos. It's so great.
Cool.
Z's very interactive with the camera as well. And Sam's just so fun in general that it doesn't matter if you've got a camera or not. He's reacting the exact same way regardless.
Yeah, he's a piece of work, and it's funny too. Hunter Skinner, like I want to have Hunter Skinner on the podcast and ask him 5 questions that have nothing to do with hockey. Because I just know, like if you could have a superpower, Hunter Skinner, what would it be? Like I don't know what's gonna happen, and I bet that would be just
It'd be great.
Radio gold. Yeah, for sure. Jillian, I only really have one other question for you, although I do want you to sort of mention where people can find those 400 pictures ish. Because I know that it all goes through the team and on Flickr and all that stuff. But do you have a specific memory? And again, you're kind of like me growing up with this. Do you have a memory either as an employee or just as a kid, or maybe even like a favorite player growing up? Or maybe just a moment that happened that you were just like, man, this is like awesome. Like just one of those kind of core memories that sticks with you, either as a fan or an employee.
I actually have a couple full circle moments that have been very heartwarming. Again, growing up local, when I was in elementary school, I sang the anthem at one of the games.
Wow.
But otherwise, my cousin, who is very dear to me, is one of the co-owners of King Gray. So again, part of the reward of going to a Thunderbirds games a lot of times was I was going with them. So I'd be able to go during intermission on the truck that they had at the time. And I have photos from a military night, I think it was 2018. And I'm on the back of a King Gray truck. It was King Ward at the time, actually. I was on the back of a King Ward truck, and it's like boomers hanging off the back of it. And I'm smiling, looking around at the crowd. And then I have photos from like the most recent military night, same thing, on the ice during intermissions, looking around at the crowd, just smiling. So it's been nice to kind of have a full circle moment of like, I remember being a fan. I wanted to catch t-shirts so bad, all the way up in the nosebleeds. They needed a kid like Lorenzo throwing the t-shirts then.
Oh, what a rocket arm that kid's got. Holy smokes.
Absolutely insane. But I was so excited for that. And to be on the ice in any sense was incredible. And I have a video because King Gray normally does the puck drop on those kinds of nights. And I have videos, and it's so funny to see because I got a flashback last year. I zoom in on my family dropping the puck, and you see Lucas and Aiden and their video cameras. And I was like, little did I know, the following year, I'd be right there with them.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Matt, you got anything else for?
I just have one more.
Follow. Yeah.
Tough to follow, and this is a short answer here. If I'm not mistaken, Boomer used to dabble in photography. Is mascot in your future at all? Are you going to trend as? Is there a Boomer mascot in your future?
Or have you been Boomer?
That'd be crazy. No, I have not been Boomer. I think that I've got quite a nice personality for the role that I'm in, but I don't think that I'd be able to do a mascot. I don't think I would.
They're their own breed, aren't they?
Yeah, kind of like goalies. Kind of like...
Yeah. Well, as somebody who's been a mascot, I've been the Bridgeport Sound Tiger before when I was an intern. And the nice thing about it is you can literally do anything and the kids go wild. Like
that's very true.
You can just dance and they all go bananas. So kind of funny. Jillian Gray, can you tell us a little bit more about where folks can find your work in, whether it's through the team or other photography you do in your free time, but just give us a place where people can get more of your work.
You can find all of my stuff on Flickr.com, which is the word Flickr without the E. search up Springfield Thunderbirds. You go into albums, it'll say the game or the date with the game, and it says fan experience. 95% of the time, those are all mine.
That's awesome. Well, Jillian, thank you so much for taking the time. Thanks for bailing me out during my vacation, giving us some content. But no, this was great. And
Awesome. Yeah,
again, this is why we like having employees on, because people like, again, Matt, I think you blew Matt's mind today, which is great because people don't really realize all the hard work that goes into a lot of different aspects. We're going to learn more about that with Bill coming up here in a minute. But we appreciate you sharing your insight and some stories. And this was really cool. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you guys very much. I had so much fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
It.
And a big thank you to Jillian Gray, photographer for your Springfield Thunderbirds. Great talking to her. And we want to take a minute to say that the SRG podcast proudly brought to you by our friends at White Lion Brewing in Tower Square in downtown Springfield, their new location in Amherst. But the Springfield one is your go-to spot for Thunderbirds games. They also validate your parking if you park at the Tower Square garage. So go down there, have some Boomer Nachos, Seuss Mac and Cheese, some of the 20 plus beers they have on tap, and make sure you validate your parking with them as well. Save you $14. So make sure you do that. And when you do, make sure you tell the people at White Lion Brewing that the folks at SRG sent you. By our friends at Brewcade on Walnut Street in Agawam. It's exactly what it sounds like. It is arcade games, darts, pool, and plenty of beers on tap and in bottles. A locally owned business right here in Western Massachusetts. Agawam, born and bred, a buddy of mine since way back in the day. So make sure you check out Brewcade and the Sarnelli family on Walnut Street in Agawam. And we want to thank our friends at Landscaping That Fits, 413-847-0338. Rob over there, a season ticket holder of the Thunderbirds. He's going to be helping me out literally from spring to fall with my fertilizing. I don't want to do it. So I'm going to pay him to do it. But if you have spring cleanup, fall cleanup, you need aeration, you got piles of stuff you just don't know what to do with. You don't have a backyard to throw it on. He'll come pick it up for you. Yeah, he'll do it. Give him a call, 413-847-0338. Also does regular lawn maintenance as well. And it was great talking with Jillian. Now we have just Bill, it's been a decade, man. Can you believe it's been a decade that I've known you? Bill Scott, who is, for the most part, the off-ice official in the visiting penalty box, and somebody who we've together watched hundreds of games. Bill, how are you, my friend?
Very well. How are you?
Excellent. I'm so glad you're able to join us today.
So am I.
So Bill, first of all, how long have you former police sergeant, right?
Correct. I worked with the town of Long Meadow for 34 years.
Good for you.
1999, and I started for Mr. Denver, Jim Denver. He was the head off-ice official for years. I think I remember him as a little kid going to the old Coliseum. But I started as a volunteer in 1998, and then I told him I had plenty of time because I was going to retire in 99, and he took me on, and the rest is history, as they say.
Wow. What's changed? What's changed, Bill? What's changed since 96 to now? They actually put glass in front of us. You don't get pucks off the head. Like what's?
Well, when I first started, the penalty boxes were on the Dwight Street side, and the locker rooms were on the side that you and I are on now. And there was no glass in front of the penalty box, and either one of the boxes. And in fact, the public address announcer, prior to you, stood between us, and there was no glass around him.
Wow.
And you asked me about some of the funny incidents. Well, we had a fellow named Sean Gagnon that was our enforcer, if you will. And the fellow from Hartford was the name Dale Puritan, and he was far from pure.
Yeah,
and
right.
One night they had a little go round, and when they came in the boxes, Mr. Puritan picked up the ice bag that we have in there in case somebody gets injured, and he fired it, and it hit John Peliquin in the head before it got to Sean Gagnon. And shortly after that, we had plexiglass between the penalty boxes and the public address announcer. But I never get hit with a puck. And of course, when the penalty gets 2-minute penalty, when it gets down to 2 minutes, when it gets down to 10 seconds, we have to tell the player, and they usually stand up, and then we count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, I'm looking at the clock, I'm not looking at where play is going because I've got to let the guy out. I got to open the door and let him out. And so there were many nights that players came by and sticks came by, but I never got hit. My old boss, who works in the home team penalty box, he got hit once, but no real damage. So we've been lucky. But then when they redid the whole Civic Center, they moved everything over, and as you well know, it's all plexiglass now where we are.
I mean, the amount of times pucks hit the glass right in front of me, and I'd like, man, if the glass wasn't there, that was hitting me right between the eyes. Like, holy smokes, like it's crazy.
As you always yell, hey, we're working here.
Right, we're working over here, guys. Come on. That's right.
Players hear that, but we hear it. But
for sure,
we do have a lot of fun, and it's been an interesting 27 years. I still enjoy it. Met a lot of great players. I don't initiate conversation. I let them say something, and then we'll join in conversation. But they're all pretty good guys. I tell everybody that in all the years I've been doing this, I've learned a lot of bad words in different languages. I'm not sure what all the languages are, but and I know they're really not good words. But for the most part, it's a lot of fun.
That's great.
Bill, thanks so much for hopping on with us. So you, as an off-ice official, are an employee of AHL, correct? Not Springfield Thunderbirds?
Yes.
Wait, they pay you?
We're paid by the club, but technically we work for the American Hockey League is what we really do. But pay is something that is just in recent times. For probably 23 or 4 years, we were all volunteers. Mr. Landon was very, very good to us, but we were strictly volunteers.
So you're able, though, to just work Springfield games, right? The AHL couldn't say, hey, we're down in Bridgeport. Can you make the trip? We need you down here.
That has happened. I've never done it, but a couple of our guys have gone down to Hartford on occasion when they've been short. So technically, we could fill in for somebody. I've never done it, but one of the fellows that worked in the penalty box before I got that job, he went down there several different times over the years, but I've never done it.
We're talking with Bill Scott, who literally operates the visiting penalty box at the Mass Mutual Center. Bill, I'm wondering if, I know we have stories which we're going to get to, but are there a player or a couple players who maybe you've had in the box and you enjoyed their company, and then they've gone on to NHL success, and you've been like, I'm really happy for that guy because I remember our 2-minute, conversation in the box.
Growing up in Massachusetts, obviously I'm a Bruin fan. I know that's not our parent club, but over the years, not many, but some of the current players who play for the Providence Bruins are now up with the big club, the big team. And over the years, when the NHL strike was going on, Patrice Bergeron came down, and he didn't go to Europe. He stayed in the States, and he played with the baby Bruins, and he did get a penalty one night, and I got to talk to him. And the current captain of the Bruins, Marchand, when he was with the baby bees, I know I told you this story, Steve, but he used to skate like Michael Jordan played basketball with his tongue sticking out. And I said to one of the guys in the box one night, I said, hey, did anybody ever tell this kid he's going to bite his tongue off when he gets hit? And I won't use his language, but the guy said, we tell him every time, and he doesn't do it anymore. But and then he went on to become the captain. And then over the years, when even Pasternak was down for a rehab assignment, probably 4 or 5 years ago, I had the thrill, for me being a Bruin fan, it was a thrill for me to have those guys in the box. But over the years, there's been many players that have gone on and had decent careers in the NHL. One of the fellows that I really liked, he was property of the Rangers at the time, playing with Hartford, Dale Weiss. Sometimes we'll tell a guy when his penalty is just short of being over, we'll say, hey, if I let you out, you go in and score a goal, I'm getting the assist. Well, Dale Weiss left the box one night and got a pass and went in and scored against us. And as he came back by, he gave me the fist pump and a little thumbs up and kept going. And so I took my granddaughter down to the next Hartford game because she liked him. Sure enough, he got called up that night, so she never got to see him down there. But there's been others. I can't think of all of them, Steve. But doing it 27 years, you run into a lot of different players. But they're all really nice guys. And the thing, and you've seen it after the fist fights and whatever, when they each get up, they give each other a nod, good fight, good whatever. So once the battle is over, it's over, and they go back out and they continue to play.
Yeah, we had that this weekend with Billy Sweezy, who was checking on Dylan Peterson after that fight, which again, I mentioned to Matt, like it's amazing the days
Both
of them yelling.
Yeah. They gave each other the big nod and a good fight or whatever. And but conversation, like I said, I don't initiate conversation. We used to have first aid kits in the box, and as a former EMT and policeman, some of them would come in and say, "Hey, how bad am I?" And I would say to them, I said, "Well, I'm not a doctor, but I think you should get it looked at. I can tell I can tell when they need a stitch or something.
Right.
I'm not that naive, and I was a Boy Scout, so I know a little bit about first aid. But anyway, they'll thank you and whatever, or sometimes when they're leaving, they'll say, "Well, we'll see you again, maybe," or something. But I think I think the ones that are career AHL players, if you will, they remember you every year, just like the refs come over and they talk to us every week, and so they know who we are.
Bill, are there certain referee groups, and you don't have to name them, you don't have to out them or anything like that, but you just know going into it, all right, I'm going to be busy. This guy's got a quick whistle. He's got he calls this game this way. Do you have a sense of who the referees are if you're going to be busy or not?
You know what I do? I look at the stat sheet that Steve and I get every night, and I look to see, number one, the referee and the linesman's names. And I have a little card that I write all the penalties down, and I put the date, and on the back of that card, I'll write down their numbers. So I don't know them all by name, but I can tell, and I'm sure Steve can tell too, who's going to have the quick whistle or whatever. But as far as the players, I look at the stat sheet and see who on that team has the most penalty minutes. And then I know, well, this guy, chances are he's going to be with me for 2, 5, or maybe 10. You never know. But that's just how I do it. I can't speak for other guys on how they may do it. But those are the things I look at. And I remember years ago, we had one referee, back when it was only one ref too, I think. He loved to have games that didn't go over 2 hours. And our former boss, Jay Denver, who we lost a couple of years ago, Jay would always kid with him. He'd say, "Hey, I got to get to 99. My ice is melting in my drink." So this guy always wanted games to go under 2 hours, and he didn't call many penalties unless it was an obvious, infraction. But and I don't remember his name, but I know he lived in Florida, and he came up to New England in the winter and did games on weekends. But
we're talking with Bill Scott, who runs the visiting penalty box at the Mass Mutual Center. And Bill, I don't think a lot of people understand, like, how often we go to intermission and we go sit in the locker room. It's like it's not the AIC locker room. It's just like another side locker room, but whatever. And how many conversations we have, you, me, Chief, Tommy, Dave, just about a particular play or a particular, okay, well, this player, the call was this, so this player's obligated to do this and that. And, if there's a 5-minute penalty, you have to know exactly what time they're getting out. Is there one aspect of what you do that is the most challenging? Like, what's the hardest for you? Is it reverse math on a 10-minute misconduct? Or like, what can be challenging for you?
That's really it. I mean, you got to be able to add and subtract. but I got to tell you one funny story. The very first game I ever did, preseason game. So you know how those are. Somebody's trying to impress the coaches or whatever. At the end of one of the periods, I had 4 guys in the box. 4 guys. Okay. So now they come back to the penalty box, and I say, number 5, you're on the clock. You got 1:40, and the other guy had 1:10, and the other guy, whatever. And then the guy sitting furthest away from me, he had gotten a 2, 5, and 10. So I said to him, you're back at 2:23 with a whistle. And he kind of looked at me, and so I repeated it. So now I happen to glance at the other 3 guys in the box, and they've all got this little grin. And I said, guys, what's going on? He doesn't speak English. So I went 2, 2, 3, whistle. And then he knew what I meant. And but those are the kind of things that happen. But no, I mean, with all of us working out the times and whatever, we make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But for the most part, I write everything down, as does the chief, and so we know when they're coming back. And the 2-minute penalties are easy because that's on the board, but a lot of that stuff doesn't go up on the board. A lot of the penalties, I should say.
Yeah, right.
Bill, we had this question in a fan rant, and I'd like you to take us through pregame. You also have a responsibility, or is that somebody else, to monitor players and when and how they get off the ice? Is that accurate?
Yes. During the warm-ups, the rule from the American Hockey League, they can only have so many players on the ice. We're given a sheet with all of the players who are dressed, and then when they're out there, Mr. Denver, Jim Denver, years ago asked me to make sure all the ones that are listed on the sheet are on the ice. And then, so I do that every game. And then Steve announces the scratches for the night. And we have to make sure that they only had that certain number on the ice. If they have more, Steve or somebody will call that up top, and they make a notation of it. And then the team is fined. I don't know what the fines are or anything, but then at the 1 minute mark, the timekeeper, 1 minute left until they have to get off the ice, the timekeeper will blow a whistle, and then you'll see one of us standing there looking on the ice. And if, there's always the last 2 players that want to shoot the puck in last or whatever. Yeah. And if they're not off the ice when it hits 0, that's called upstairs and the teams are fined. And even if it's our team, even if it's the home team, that goes on the score sheet and they're fined. I don't know what those fines are. We don't have anything to do with that. So, but yes, we monitor what's going on. And then during the Star Spangled Banner, the starting players are on the ice. Mm-hmm. Now, the referees or the linesmen usually are the ones that will verify that. But I've always done it all the years I've done it. I make sure those ones whose names were announced as the starting players are the ones that are on the ice. And if somebody different is on the ice, we have to make somebody aware of that. Usually the referee, but
yeah. Good stuff.
Fascinating. Good stuff. You got something, Matt? Go ahead.
Well, all right. So we'll get into player stories in a minute here. I have a particular Springfield Thunderbirds fan in my mind that I think likes to heckle some visitors in the penalty box. Do you have any stories of fans just being funny, interacting in a good way, in a bad way with visiting fans in the penalty box? And in your experience, are there some, because there's so much turnover also in the AHL, are there former Thunderbirds or Falcons that are now on opposing teams that see you, hey, I remember you, I'm on this side now, kind of thing? But any fan heckling stories you got for us?
I mean, hockey fans are strange people. I learned that as a teenager when I used to go to the Coliseum. But I really can't say anything negative. I mean, again, we hear a lot of stuff coming down. Now, just the other couple of weeks ago, we had a Bridgeport player was in the box. And there's a guy that sits right behind me. And he's a really, really nice guy. He's an avid fan. He's always banging on the glass. And he and this particular player, they'll have words. And so I'm looking at the ice. So I really don't see what's going on. But apparently he went over and he squirted the water bottle through the glass at him. Well, then another fan 3 sections down saw that and came over and started yelling and screaming and whatever. So there is some of that stuff. I just went up against the glass, and I don't want it crashing down on somebody, but that's not really our job, and other than that, most of the fans, they're especially if it's the home team guy sitting behind us, which the season ticket holders are, they're going to give it to the opposing player, which happens in all sports, but nothing really, really bad to speak of.
Do you find that's better or worse than it was, say, 20, 25 years ago? Because I feel like there's maybe one of those incidents a year where we have a fan that I have to, use my teacher voice and yell at. But I feel like it's only like one a year. Whereas, I don't know, I'm wondering what was like back when there was no glass down there.
I mean, it was really no different. There was always somebody up there, behind the teams, or behind the penalty boxes that was going to, have his say or her say. And but nothing ever violent ever happened, since I've been doing it, And again, my focus is probably on what's happening in front of me, sometimes not behind me or to either side. So I may miss some of the stuff that happens like that. I know that night the guy squirted his water bottle at him, but then the head of security came down and asked me, did he stick his stick through the glass? Well, I'm honest. I had to say I didn't see that. But then again, my focus is, somewhere other than watching what the player's doing or whatever. But for the most part, they're good guys, and they give it back to the fans too. Sometimes I'd like to say to them, don't even bother, but that's not going to help because, they're human beings and they want to say something to somebody, and they're going to react.
Nobody chirps like a hockey player, in my opinion. That they've got the best. Nobody chirps like a hockey player.
You know them. Yeah, they're not afraid to be vocal.
Well, it's funny. I think of a guy like I think of a guy like Seth Helgeson who will be in a full conversation with you, and then he'll just turn and just scream something at a fan, and then he'll go right back to talking to you, and then he'll turn this way and scream at another fan, and then go back. It's like he's got this double thing.
They hardly take a breath.
So true. Well, Matt, I just had one last thing for Bill. I don't know if you had any other questions, anything you wanted to throw at him. Oh, I think Matt froze. Matt, did you freeze? Matt froze.
I got you.
Oh, there he is. Matt, what do you got? You got another question, or are you good?
I listen. Bill, I could talk to you all night. I know we won't keep you here, but
it's okay. I could talk all night too.
Yes, you can.
Obviously, right, players, when they get called for a penalty, they're most of the time not happy about it. To players, and again, I'm not looking to name out anybody or throw anybody under the bus, but do players sometimes come in the box and just need to vent and yell at you because of a bad call, or they thought they were done wrong by the referee?
I have over the years listened to a lot of it, but because I don't want, how do I want to say this? I don't want the referee or the linesman getting mad at me. So I won't respond to, hey, what did you think of that friggin' call or something? I won't answer that. Steve will sometimes, voice his opinion because I hear him saying, oh, that was a makeup call or something. I just made it a policy not to say anything because what would happen to me is that guy would go back out on the ice and he'd say, hey, even he thought it was a bad call. I don't want to be in that position. So, I may nod or I may, look at the guy and roll my eyes, but I rarely say something about that penalty. On occasion, say there was a call that I didn't like that went against us. Now there's another call and the guy goes, in my penalty box. I may make a statement like, well, that almost looks like a makeup call. And if you know sports, you know what I mean by a makeup call. In other words, the ref may have known that, the penalty he called on Springfield was not really that bad. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen because over my 27 years, I think I've seen it happen. But you can never say that. I would never say it, especially for the linesman or the referee to hear it, because then I could be removed from the penalty box.
Man, I should learn a thing or two from Bill. All this time. Maybe I should shut my mouth.
I was going to say, it sounds like Bill's a little bit more of a grown-up than you, Steve.
Yes, very much so. Yes, very, very much so. Yeah.
Just a little older than he is.
Yeah. Been around a little bit, Bill. Bill,
my kid's older than you, Steve.
What's that?
I said, my kids are older than you.
Oh boy, Bill, thank you for making me feel young. I appreciate that. Sort of a funny thing, and this is sort of the last question I had for you. We have this sort of running joke about your ability to predict the. It used to be the helmet shuffle. Now it's the pizza shuffle, and Bill, I think he's batting like 99% on getting the helmet shuffle right, and half the time he's not even looking at it. I mean, I don't know if you want to tell the people your secret.
I don't. I'll tell Matt this, but Steve and I have this little thing going where they used that helmet shuffle. It's now the pizza box shuffle. Mm-hmm. He gets called from upstairs. They tell him what hat or helmet or now what pizza box it is. And he'll give me, 1 finger, 2 fingers, or 3. So I know what the call is, right? So now the guy I was telling you that sits right behind me in the penalty box for the first, 4 or 5 games last year, he would be amazed that I would always guess. And he would, he would bow at me and give me the thumbs up and whatever. So yeah, that's what he did, Steve. So finally I told him the truth. I said, no, Steve gives me but the people around him don't know that. So right. He keeps doing it, give me the bow and the whatever. And we really have a good time with it. That's why I say he's really a good guy. And, but he's the only one that knows that. But yeah, you're right, Steve. I missed one last week because I was busy doing something. And so I didn't even put a finger up. And he kind of sat behind me looking at me and said, what's the matter? And I said, I guess I was busy. So we have fun. It's really
Bill, people have no idea how much fun we have down there.
We really have a great time. We really do. And if you could hear him, Matt, in the locker room doing his Bernie Sanders impressions, oh my goodness.
Well, I mean, how mad? I mean, so I try to keep my cool as best I can, but nothing bothers me more than a linesman who won't drop the puck. And oftentimes it's after a penalty. I'm waiting to read something. Luke's playing music. The referee drops the puck, but then he blows the whistle because it wasn't fair. Now we all have to come back. We got to fix the clock, and it drives me bananas. Yep. And I don't even know where the pinhead started from, but the joke is drop the puck pinhead, which is what I always yell.
I think that goes way back to when the penalty boxes were on the other side of the rink, and we had a guy that used to play records. Jimmy something, I can't remember his last name. And he would get mad because he had to stop the music or play it or whatever. And he would yell out, drop the puck, pinhead. And maybe Rick said that to you one time and then you picked up on it. But yeah, we always say, like on Friday night, I got to get home to see Blue Bloods and let's get out of here, drop the puck or something, So it's we really do have a good time. It's a lot of fun. Great guys, great bunch of guys. And I tell people I'm going to keep doing this as long as I can because I absolutely love hockey and I got the best seat in the house. Really,
Well, hey, stick around until I retire from teaching, and then you could mentor me and show me the ropes on how to do it, and then I'll just
still be there then.
Yeah, you better.
Hopefully, I won't be teaching much longer. So
tomorrow, I won't tell you how old I am, but I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can.
Well, good for you.
Thanks for asking me, Steve, to do this. I'll do it anytime you want.
Oh my God, my pleasure, Bill. I love it,
Bill. But I'm not sure you can put them all out on the air.
I know. Well, we certainly do share stories, and yes, happy birthday tomorrow, Bill. For sure, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
I want to just mention real quick because when Bill drives delivery services as well, and to and from the airports and runs like that. You work for the funeral home. And when my father passed away, we were going to the funeral and the vehicle shows up, the limo shows up for me and my mom and my sister and my family. Yeah. And who gets out of the driver's seat but Bill? And you knew how much that meant to me to have you be the driver. And I know I've said it to you before, but what a really precious moment that was for me to see you stepping out of that driver's seat. So thanks, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I've made a lot of friends working for that company for quite a few years, but you know me, I can't sit still. I got to do something, and that's really kind of easy work. And I won't give a shout out to who I work for, because although you don't care really. But
no,
I knew your dad very well. I used to see him at the golf course a lot, and so when I saw that, I asked them if they needed somebody to work it, I'd be more than willing to do it. So I'm glad I met your family and whatever. And Hey, have a great cruise.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're looking forward to a couple days. We're out of here, man. So when this airs, I'm gonna be in the middle of the ocean. So it'll be great.
Month from today, I'll be in Aruba for a week. So my
Nice.
wife and I go every year, except the 2 COVID years. But you're going to enjoy that Disney cruise. I don't have to tell you, Disney does a great job. We took the grandkids on it years and years ago when they were probably a lot younger than your kids are a lot younger. But anyway, you're going to have a great time and enjoy. I hope the water's nice and smooth.
Oh, me too. 85 and sunny is what I see. So let's keep that going, baby. 85 and sunny. But Bill, thank you so much for coming on, man. This is awesome.
Hopefully we'll do it again.
Anytime.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thanks, Bill.
Anytime.
Take care. Yep.
See you
Bye-bye.
later.
Yeah, this was a good episode.
This is great. This is what I was
This
shooting
was a
for,
good
man.
episode.
Just like a whole bunch of two great people.
And fans, so if this is still running, right? I will do my best. This is probably dropping the Wednesday of the vacation week. I will come on live probably later in the week, maybe even on Friday morning from the Thunderdome. I'll be there with my kids for the practice. So, give a little insight to what the weekend matchups are looking like. But this was a fun episode. This was great.
Yeah, this was awesome. I really appreciate Jillian for taking the time. It is without picking on either of them, it is awesome to see the dichotomy of two guests, same team, same building, same organization. One is 21, started as an intern. The other started 35 years ago as a retiree.
Before she was born.
Way before she, like, that is so cool. Like that's just so cool to me. And I love them both. Jillian is so nice and sweet. And Bill is just, I mean, like I said, I've been working with that guy for a decade, and he's it's not even like he's like my uncle. He's like a friend. Like he's just such a good dude. And this is the stories, the Dale Weiss story. I've heard that Dale Weiss story like hundreds of times. And that's why I want to have him on, because I'm like, this guy's got such good stories. And like, I hear them. Nobody else hears them. I want the public to hear them. So that was really cool. That meant a lot. That was cool.
Yeah.
And as always, our episodes of the podcast brought to you by our friends at White Lion Brewing in Tower Square in downtown Springfield, by our friend and in Amherst, by our friends at Brewcade on Walnut Street in Agawam, and by our friends at Landscaping That Fits, 413-847-0338. This episode is going to drop Wednesday, so I will say tonight, Brady Deniston, good luck. It's your seat in my PA booth. I expect it back. I'm sure you're gonna crush it, but yes, I do want my seat back, so keep it warm for me. But I'm just so glad that Brady gets the opportunity to fill in for me. I wish I just, again, another kid that he was a decade ago, right? He's been going to games for a decade. Now he's in high school. So when I met him, he was like 9, and he does such a good job, dude. And I'm so happy for that kid. So he gets to live out his dream the same way I did. So good luck tonight, Brady. Appreciate you, buddy.
That's great. Yes. And so tonight, right, your Springfield Thunderbirds are playing the Hartford Wolfpack. Puck drop at 7:05. Saturday, they are playing Scranton Wilkes-Barre. This is going to be a big game. Right now, Scranton is playing really well. Sitting, I believe, second place. I don't know how things will change when this is actually airing, but a big game home against Scranton Wilkes-Barre. And then they finish up the weekend Sunday in Bridgeport. So 3 big Atlantic Division games. These are big, and again, I'll try to update to see how the Midwest trip went. But 3 big games this weekend. Thank you all for listening. Did you do our reads?
Yes. Yeah, our bills are paid.
Then, hey, let's go T-Birds.